Well, come on along and welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thanks a lot for taking us along wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. We appreciate you taking Indiana Sports Beat Radio for a ride today. Jim Coyle coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios as always. Jake's at the wheel, keeping things on the track. Great program today. Looking forward to hearing from our good friend Chronic Hoosier. It's Tuesday, so we're getting Chronic today. Looking forward to that conversation. Always a great one. Also hear from a plethora of IU football members. Nick Westbrook, Donovan Hale, Grant Hurd, the receivers coach, Tom Allen, head football coach. Long conversation with him. So looking forward to all that. Also, big news coming. I'm expecting for the next assistant basketball coach to be named here today, tomorrow, sometime soon. It seems to be the scuttlebutt. I'm hearing it's a home run hire, not an IU person. So don't get excited, which I don't know why that matters. That's just novelty type thing now at this of the game. To me, all that matters is winning. I would think that the fan base would just concern themselves with winning and doing whatever it takes to get to that point, and we'll see who that is. So looking forward to that coming up. So a big announcement there. Also, don't forget coming up on August 27th, down after the listeners down in Evansville area at Harrison High School in the Shoulders Family Commons. Archie Miller is going to be speaking down there. Doors open 5:30 Central Time. So you guys can get in there. It's free. It's no charge. So make sure you check that out. But a lot of great things coming up. We're heading out to football practice again today. No announcement on the quarterback being named as of yet. But I did get a feeling after talking to Tom Allen yesterday of a direction that they may be going. Not because of it was because of what he said and how he said it. My thought is they might be leaning towards Ramsey because they seem hesitant to make this public announcement. And if that's the case, I think it would be because the fan base wants to see Michael Penix. They've seen Michael. They've seen, no offense to Peyton Ramsey, but they've seen that show for the last 2 years, and 5-7 has been the result. Now, granted, there's a change of the guard at offensive coordinator, which I think is going to improve the offense no matter what, and that's fine. But do you want just a little bit of improvement, or do you want a lot of improvement? And if you want a lot of improvement, there's only one direction that they can go. If they want to do the safe route, well, that's Mr. 5 and out in the cloud of dust. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But just a lot of things coming up. A lot of news. Indiana also has 2 open scholarships. Who's going to fill those? Will they fill both of them, or will they fill one and bank one? I feel strongly in Matt Cross, that winning kid out of I think Massachusetts, like a 6'7" shooter, really good. He reminds me of Will Sheehy, but that's a good type player for Archie Miller to land. And again, as he continues the roster overhaul for himself, putting his stamp on this program, kind of getting through the roster that he was handed when he arrived. Now his type of players, the best. I think Trey Galloway has been the get so far. Not Trace Jackson was standing, of course, but I think Galloway's just going to be such a glue kid to that team. He's a kid that just does whatever it takes to win. He attends Culver Military Academy, so he's got his mind right. So looking forward to that. Got a lot going on out of football practice today. We'll be heading out there. This is our last open practice. Maybe our last. This is our last opportunity to watch a practice for the season, because Thursday the team heads to Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. We'll be there for a walkthrough, and I believe practices are closed as of next week. And then we're in the season, man. It's here. It's here. I think there was a Monday night football game last night. San Francisco, Denver. I think San Francisco got destroyed, but I can't remember if it was the other way around. But also, I saw an article in the Star that Indiana's number 1 in basketball, something. Recruiting dollars spent. So that's something we'll have to get into more tomorrow. But got a great show coming up for you today. Going to hear from Tom Allen. I was looking over at Archie Miller's name. Tom Allen, head football coach in Indiana. We'll hear from Nick Westbrook, Donovan Hale. We got a lot of guys that we're going to hear from today. In addition to Chronic Hoosier, he's on, man. I can't wait. He's always brings his weekly wit and charm like nobody else can do. He's the president of Hoosier Nation. Pretty sure about that. But appreciate you joining us here from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Got plenty more coming up. Stay tuned. We're back with Mike Schumann right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle with you, as always, here on Indiana Sports Radio, the only IU radio daily radio show. Covers nothing but IU, man. That's it. We're the only one. Shout out to WBRO 89.9 down in Perry County. Thanks a lot. Looking forward to, glad to be a part of you guys and bringing IU coverage, complete coverage to you. So thanks a lot. Looking forward to that. In addition to the REF, WREF 97.7 down in Evansville. In addition to that, Mike Schumann now joins us from the Daily Hoosier. Michael, how is your weekend?
Oh, it was pretty good. How about yours?
Great. I didn't do anything. I was just a lazy bum. We didn't have anything to have to cover. And so, yeah, that was it. Very exciting.
Nothing.
Congratulations. It'll be your last do nothing weekend for a long time.
Absolutely, yeah. That begins today. It just starts to kick off. Things are really picking up, and it's not just IU football and IU basketball. We've got so much going on with volleyball. They're expecting to have an incredible year this year. They've got this Cream and Crimson scrimmage coming up this Saturday with Coach Steve Aaron, invigorating a lot of new life into that. You just had the golf course dedication on Friday. What a beautiful championship caliber course they're going to have, man. I cannot wait to play that thing.
Yeah, it's been about 25 years since I played it. It used to be my favorite course, and I can't wait to see what they've done.
Well, from all the comments of the people there, I'm surprised it was your favorite course because they talked about how horrible it was. It's been so long since I played that course, I can't remember. It was when I was in college, but I can't remember how bad it was, if it was that bad. But apparently it is like championship caliber now, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, it was, it was all perspective when I was a college student. What qualified as a nice course, I'm sure was, it was all relative.
Well, on the basketball front, we've got a couple of things. We're still waiting to hear who the next assistant coach is going to be. Not that that's a major thing, but the fact that it's gone close to 2 months now, that's a bit surprising to me. I know everybody keeps saying, oh, they don't have to be in a hurry. I'm like, well, that's not the point. When you go this long, it's not that you don't have to be in a hurry, because there's something that's preventing that to happen at this stage, is my guess.
Yeah, it could be. I want to refrain from judgment until we see who it is. If it's somebody that leaves you scratching your head, like, how did we end up with this guy after 2 months, then I would definitely be in that camp of, something didn't go right here. But, it could be that they've had the guy lined up for weeks and just really felt no reason to make the announcement, or in fact, the opposite, had good reasons to not make the announcement. So, I'll refrain from judgment, but I think I believe that that's going to come out here in the next week or two.
Oh yeah, I'm not judging. I'm saying there is a reason why it hasn't happened, whether that is this person that they've got the guy that they want and they have to wait till September 1st or whatever the case may be. But there's something at this, when it goes this long, there's more than, oh, we don't have to be in a rush kind of a thing. I think there's a reason that hasn't happened yet. I'm not saying it's something bad, but there's definitely, I think, something that it's kind of a long time. So I think that, like I said, it's either a contractual thing or whatever the case may be, but just looking forward to see who that's going to be and what they can add to the program.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see, to try to piece it together and make assumptions on how they can add value immediately. I definitely think this is going to be a recruiting oriented hire, and so whoever it is, if it's a geography or certain relationships, it'll be interesting to try to piece together how that can help, even as soon as in the class of 2020 that still has 2 openings left.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that 2 scholarships available still. You got Caleb Love coming in on a visit for the weekend of the Ohio State football game. He's also got visits scheduled to Missouri, North Carolina, Louisville, Kansas, and Arizona's in his top 6. I'm not sure that they're getting a visit, but Indiana gets it the weekend of the 13th through the 15th. I'm not sure that Indiana is high on that. I'm not sure that they're in the top 2 on this kid's list. We'll see. But Matt, what do you think the chances are?
I think it's better than a puncher's chance. Anytime you see a list of schools like you said, North Carolina, Louisville, Kansas, you're in for a battle, to say the least. But obviously those schools are recruiting other guys as well, and sometimes the dominoes start falling. I think Indiana's been on Love for a long time, and he has said that he's has a really good relationship and he's impressed, and so. They say
that about all the guys. They're like, they just come up with other nice things to say. They're not going to. We'll see. But there's some other people like Jordan Geronimo also coming that I think they have a better chance with. He'll be visiting the weekend of August 30th, and I think he's a point guard anyway, isn't he, Geronimo?
No, he's more of a wing. He's a 6'6" guy, more of a slasher, a wing. Really good athlete. I think him and Cross are interesting because, you already got a 6'4" Galway, 6'5" Leal in your class. Are you going to take a 6'6" Geronimo and a 6'7" Cross? I think you got to start looking out more to the, to a primary ball handler and maybe to a big in this class rather than
Why have
so
they
much.
not been able to get a point guard? He's been trying for 2 years to land a point guard without success.
Yeah, and obviously he's laser focused on Christian Lander in 2021, but I would be nervous about a 2020 roster that obviously loses Devontae Green, and really your only primary ball handler, unless someone really develops the skill, is going to be Fennessy. And so I've said for a long time, and I continue to believe that they should get somebody in the 2020 class that is a primary ball handler, if nothing else, just to spell Fennessy for the 8 minutes he's going to need, and then they can play off the ball the rest of the time. But they don't really have anybody in that spot right now.
Another name mentioned a lot here of late, especially Blake Wesley from South Bend Riley, the same place Demezy Anderson came from. That's a kid who shows a lot of promise, and that Demezy Anderson's in his ear.
Yeah, I spoke with Blake's dad last week and published an article yesterday on him if people want to read about his recruitment. I think he's a really interesting kid that's been under the radar here, at least as a sophomore in the stacked 2021 in-state class that we've talked about. But part of that was because he broke his wrist going into his sophomore season at Riley, and he also was playing on a team that had 9 seniors, and he was the only underclassman starting on that team. So I think he's a guy that's really gonna explode as an upperclassman. He got a wave of like 5 offers in 48 hours here a few weeks ago, so people are starting to recognize him more regionally. And I think, in talking to his dad, he's a kid that's going to end up being 6'6" with a 7-foot wingspan that can play point guard. So really a versatile skill set that I think is going to be really intriguing for Indiana to stay on top of.
Well, certainly keep up with that, and of course the new assistant coach, whenever he is named, we'll have that. But I've got to think that's got to be coming here very, very soon.
Yeah, I think this week, next week, lots of news coming up here. I think in the next week or two, I think the schedule probably comes out. The complete 2019-20 schedule comes out. IU football, we're probably going to have a quarterback announcement. So, after your kind of quiet weekend, I think it all heats up here and starting this week. And I think there's going to be a lot to do and a lot to cover and talk about.
All goes to hell in a handbasket soon, man. You talk about that quarterback issue. I was talking about that earlier. I think that we could possibly see that announcement come Thursday. They're going to be up at Lucas Oil Stadium with a walkthrough. We're allowed to be there for 30 minutes, but that would not surprise me as the perfect timing because it has to come the following Monday at the latest. And generally we meet with Coach Allen after practice, so that would be even later. So I'm thinking Thursday, maybe because of the venue and the timing, they're talking about that game. That may be the time that they make that announcement of who the starter is.
Yeah, I've got to believe you're right on that. I would be stunned if it goes any further, and unless they're as perplexed as I am about who the right answer is. I mean, I know you've been there watching them. I've been there watching them. None of them just jump off the table at me, which is troubling, but at the same time, somewhat good in the sense that I think they do have 3 guys that can play at this level, but I don't think they have anybody that's a clear leader or elite at this level right now. And so, maybe they know by now after the scrimmage over the weekend and they can get it out of the way, maybe even as soon as today. But I agree with you. If it goes beyond Thursday, then I'm concerned that, they're really not sure which direction to go.
Well, a couple things. To me, it's a 2-man race. It's Michael Penix and Peyton Ramsey. Tuttle's just behind us all. No, it's not a knock on his abilities because they're great. But I think this is a 2-man race right now. And with that 2-man race, if Peyton Ramsey, the incumbent starter, was that clear, he would have already been named. I think it's going to end up being Penix for a number of reasons. That's one of them. I think I've talked about earlier on the show that Penix just has a higher ceiling. He can do things that they have not had the capabilities of doing the last couple of years. Now, the only caveat to that I mentioned is the fact that we've seen Peyton Ramsey under Mike DeBoering, a very vanilla, predictable, unimaginative offense. That's not going to be the case with Kalen DeBoer. He's going to shake things up a little bit, and I think things are going to come a little more rapid fire. So that helps Peyton Ramsey's cause, I think, a little bit. But at the end of the day, the one knock on him has been his inability to get the ball downfield, and that has been one of Penix's strength, his arm strength.
Yeah, and I know Ramsey won the job at this time last year after some scrimmages where he really took care of the ball and moved the ball down the field. But, if you actually look at his numbers from last year, that while he did move the ball and he was efficient, he also threw 13 interceptions. And so I think if the coaching staff is going to give Penix a chance, that might be part of the reason why, is because in the actual game settings, Ramsey wasn't real clean with the ball a lot of the time. I believe that number of 13 interceptions was like sixth worst in Division I. And so, ball security didn't necessarily play out during the season. The one thing I keep going back to with Penix, and I could be wrong about this, and, I've talked to others that didn't necessarily agree with me who've been watching camp, but when I watch him play, I just don't see a guy that appears to be fully comfortable yet. Coming back from injury, I see some hesitancy. I see some uncomfortableness when the pocket collapses on him. And it just, to me, is speculating that he's still feeling some rust. He's still only, 10 months out from a major knee surgery. And I just question whether or not the staff's going to feel comfortable about putting him in these first two games versus maybe giving him a little bit more time and maybe plugging him in a little bit down the road, as they have done over the last couple of years. They've made mid-season quarterback changes each of the last 2 years. So it could be a situation where they go with the guy they know and the more, familiar, reliable hand to get these first two wins. And then if it doesn't go exactly how they plan, then maybe plug somebody in down the road.
Yeah, I don't see that, but that could very well be the case. When you talk to him, of course, he says he feels great, and I think he looks pretty good. So I see him do some running. So I think he's there, but we'll certainly find out. We'll see when that decision comes on Thursday, if that decision comes on Thursday. Let me rephrase that. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but and then of course the scrimmage. There was a scrimmage, or not scrimmage, but a preseason game 2 occurred over the weekend. We weren't allowed to be there, but I didn't get a lot. I haven't heard a lot from that. One thing I did hear was that one of the coaches said that their defensive backs are giving the quarterbacks hell, which is a good sign for IU's defense, because they're going to need as solid as unit possible, because the question mark for this entire team, to me, is coming at the defensive line, not because they don't have talent, but just because it's inexperience, and they're going to be rotating a lot of guys in that are young, but that's going to be the linchpin for them, I think. The secondary they could be the best secondary in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I agree with both sides of that. I think the D-line is the question mark. Coach Allen has said that repeatedly. I think they've got some size, but it's a very young size, very inexperienced size. But I have seen, at least in camp, that some guys like DeMarcus Elliott and Jerome Johnson that, are at least challenging the offensive line and not getting pushed around. So, how that translates to the highest levels of Big Ten play is a completely different question. And that segues into, if your D-line isn't holding up, if they're getting pushed around, that's going to stress your entire back seven. And so that'll be the question is, I completely agree that the DBs are standing out as the strength of this team, especially from a depth perspective. It's going to be interesting when they come out with the depth chart, exactly how that plays out, because I don't feel like I have a real good read on a couple of those spots. But I think, if the D-line doesn't hold up for those guys and puts a lot of pressure on the back seven, I don't know how good they're going to end up looking, but that's one of the bigger questions and things to watch.
And I think one of the things that's going to make the quarterback decision a little easier is the fact that they have such a great receivers room and an incredibly great running backs room, which will take some pressure off of that spot. And I think that also will help Michael Penix, because it does take
pressure off of that with the likes of Stevie Scott and the cadre of talent he's got behind him. This could be a breakout season for this offense if the quarterback, they've got to have the right guy, the guy that can do the things that they need to do. And if he can do that, this could be a prolific offense.
Yeah, it could be. And I'd even throw in the O-line that, Caleb Jones and Harry Kreider are guys that Coach DeBoer has said are standing out as making strides, and those are probably the two biggest guys that needed to take a step up, because the rest of the O-line are seniors, experienced guys. And so at least from the starting perspective, I think the O-line could be a strength of this team too. And I guess we just may not know until the Ohio State game if the right choice was made at quarterback, because I think any of those guys is probably going to look good, probably make big plays, and the athletes on Indiana's offense are probably going to make the offense look better than it is. But who's going to be able to make the tight throws, and really make the defense work against a team like Ohio State or Michigan? That, as everybody knows, those are the real questions when it comes to Indiana football. So it might be a few weeks before we really know if the right choice was made.
Well, I can tell you there's going to be a ton of buzz and excitement. As long as they can get through the first two non-conference games, which, of course, there's no reason to think that they won't. If they don't, they've got bigger problems. But when they do that and they're 2-0, and you've got an Ohio State team coming in that they're starting to, that will create a huge amount of buzz for that game. It's going to be, it's going to be sold out. Ohio State, they'll bring tons of people over to fill that to fill the stadium. This will be probably the first time since everything's been completed. That thing is full. It's going to be a spectacular environment. But there's a lot of people, and depending upon how these first games go and who the quarterback is, they may have a shot at beating Ohio State for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, and I know the last two times Ohio State's come to Bloomington, it's been similar. I believe in 2015 that Indiana was 3-0. There was chatter about even ESPN Game Day coming. As we've seen historically, a good game, IU couldn't pull it out. Again in 2017, it was the game that opened the season. You remember Richard Lego had a huge first half, and Indiana, I believe, had the lead at halftime but couldn't pull it out. It's probably going to be very similar along those lines. A lot of hype, a lot of thinking, maybe Indiana can do it, but it's the same old story. Can they do it is different than actually getting it done.
That's right, and we'll certainly see, but that's a ways off. We've got another 2 weeks to get through before the opening season kickoff takes place on August 31st up in Lucas Oil Stadium against the Ball State Cardinals, who they certainly would like to think they have something to say about that. Yeah,
and they gave Notre Dame a good game last year. They didn't look all that great against IU when they came down to Bloomington, but I think Mike New's a respected coach up there, and I think they'll definitely give IU a fight. I mean, I don't remember the exact years and scores, but I can think of 3 games off the top of my head where Ball State has beaten Indiana in the last decade. And so if anybody's taking that game lightly, it's a mistake.
3 touchdowns, baby. I say IU wins by 3 touchdowns, and I don't throw out big points usually, but I am just, I don't know if this offense can get rolling right off the bat, but I'm just bullish on this offense. I'm bullish because Kalen DeBoer is behind it, and they're better in so many areas. But I'm expecting big offensive numbers, man.
I think you could be right, but I'm not gonna speculate too much until I see a quarterback actually on the field, making plays, and then we can go from there. But I think they have the right kind of schedule in the first 2 games to get things rolling for sure.
Well, appreciate it. Check him out at the Daily Hoosier, free IU content. Mike Schumann. Appreciate you, brother.
All right, Jim. Have a great week.
You as well. That's Mike Schumann, of course, of the Daily Hoosier. Make sure you check him out there for free IU content on all things IU as well. Coming up, Dave Womack, longtime defensive coordinator in the SEC, father of Kane Womack, the IU defensive coordinator. You'll hear from him next here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, Located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway, Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moyer.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is former Indiana basketball player Greg Green. Keep up with the Hoosiers on the Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Summer breeze makes me feel fine, blowing through the jasmine in my mind.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here in Bloomington. Is another day, another dollar. We're looking forward to the announcement of the IU assistant basketball coach here in the next day or two. Could happen today. You never know after the show's off. But today, tomorrow, that's the buzz that's going around right now that it's coming out. The funny thing is, if you go on social media, you see all these guesses. Just saw one that said, "Oh, I heard it's a former IU player." And I'm like, "Yeah, really? Where'd you hear that from? What source did you get that?" You don't have a name, but you hear it's a former player. But yet, you don't – it's just – people don't know what they don't know, I guess, is the best way to put it. I don't know who it is. I haven't bothered to worry about finding out because I know I'll find out as soon as they send me the press release. There's no point in digging. It's not that big. I don't know that it's going to be that big of a name. I don't know that it's going to be a name. It may be a name that we're not familiar with. Is it going to be an former IU player? I don't know that there's a huge chance of that. I certainly don't think that it matters because this is mainly a recruiting position. And the needs for Indiana in recruiting are nationally. It's not within the state. They can land guys inside the state. It's outside of the state where Archie is having great difficulty landing talent. So whomever he brings in is going to be someone that has the ability to bring that talent in. Hopefully, that's something that would be rectified with that. But We'll certainly find out soon enough when they tell us. And I'm not all jacked up worried about it. I mean, I'm surprised it took this long to take care of this. That's a long time to go through that process. But like I said, there could have been a myriad of things that caused that time. It could have been something as simple as someone being contractually bound to where it would have cost them too much money to get out before a certain date. So I'm not concerned about any of that. I'm looking forward to seeing who it is actually, and seeing what their background is, and if it's someone that's going to be able to help Indiana. But looking forward to that. We got a lot of football action coming up here as we're heading out to practice as soon as the show's over, heading out there today. Of course, the big question is who's going to be the starting quarterback for Indiana. The number one candidate, of course, is the incumbent starter, Peyton Ramsey. But, of course, the reason he is the incumbent starter, people forget, is because last year when Michael Penix was inserted in the Penn State game, unfortunately he went down with a knee injury, or he most likely would have been the starting quarterback for the rest of the year and would have been the incumbent quarterback coming in to this season. But obviously he suffered the knee injury that took him out for the season, and rehabbing, get him back, and he kind of missed, he didn't miss spring practice, but he was not healthy during spring practice, so he was behind coming in, and obviously made up all that ground in short order. So that says a lot about Michael Penix. But Peyton Ramsey is the incumbent for whatever reasons, and he had a pretty decent season last year. Threw for, I think, 2,600 yards, 19 touchdowns, but he also threw for 13 interceptions on passes that were generally tailored for him. They did not go downfield because they didn't have success going downfield with Peyton Ramsey. Has that changed under new offensive coordinator Kalen DeBoer? I'm not sure. Has that changed because he's gotten a little better as well? Not sure. We'll have to wait and see what that decision is when they come out with it, though. And that decision is likely coming soon. Here's what Peyton Ramsey had to say, though, when we had the opportunity to talk about the quarterback race overall.
Yeah, I think it's, he laid the building blocks in the spring. So, as he continues to throw new stuff at us, I think he's done a good job of laying a foundation for what we're doing and just building off certain formations and building off certain concepts, maybe a line a little bit different. So while it is different, there's a lot of similarities and there's a lot of, baseline knowledge that we already have. And I think the three of us are all doing a really good job of picking it up and applying it during team sessions.
Have you enjoyed the competition, the competitiveness with the two other guys, and how hard has it been?
Yeah, I mean, it's fun just to be out there, and that's kind of how I approach it every day, just to go out and be with the guys. Not even on the practice field, but just being here all day, getting to spend time, building new relationships with guys that, maybe you haven't got to, talk to as much because we're here all the time and we're with each other all the time. So, the competition part, it's been fun just to be out there and compete again. But at the same time, it's just been a fun fall camp, just, really just getting to be around the guys.
How would you grade yourself so far after the first couple of weeks?
Yeah, I've been good. Continuing to progress every single day. I think I've been consistent, stacking good days on top of good days, and having a 1-0 mindset like Coach DeBoer talks about. Whether it be a new player, a new practice, just approaching it like I'm going to go dominate the next play, and not worrying about anything else. So far I've been good. I've been consistent, and I'm happy with where I'm at.
I mean, in terms of you're installing some new things. Sometimes things aren't as crisp as you want. Just against the defense, you still want to score and get down the field. I mean, how do you balance, I guess, the frustrations with knowing that this is just new stuff that we don't quite have down yet?
Yeah, it's tough sometimes. And today, if you were out there, you kind of saw it, that the defense kind of had our number. We were just working on some certain things, trying to get better at certain things that, maybe doesn't stack up well against our defense, but they're definitely things that we need to practice. And at the same time, it's competitive, and we want to score, and we want to get first downs and big plays on every single drive. So it's important just to go back and watch the film and learn from the minor mistakes while we're out there just trying to make big plays.
Any main takeaways from Sunday's scrimmage for your position at least?
I think we all played well. I think the three of us went out there and competed. We gave our playmakers opportunity to make big plays, and at the end of the day, we just all had fun. We all competed, and it was a good day for the three of us, for our room for sure.
the deep shots, how much are you enjoying those, and how do you feel like you're connecting on some of those downfield?
Yeah, it's been good. Coach DeBoer puts us in a lot of good situations, good alignments, and allows us to take our shots when they're there. And like I said, the three of us on Sunday, we were all hitting them, and that's kind of been a constant theme throughout fall camp. We've all been really consistent. We've all been playing really well. So very excited about Coach DeBoer's offense.
You've been making a concerted effort when the other two guys are out there, really paying close attention to what's going on while they're under center?
I mean, it's kind of something that I've always done. Not necessarily watching and grading them, but watching the entire team and trying to be a leader out there, helping young guys, new freshman running backs, new freshman receivers, O-linemen. So it's not necessarily, watching the other guys in my position group. It's just watching the entire offense and trying to be the best leader that I can and helping this offense move along.
What do you have to do to become the starting quarterback for this team?
I think just consistency is a really big thing. I think I've proven that I'm capable, I'm able, but at the same time, it's just you got to do it every single day. That's what Big Ten quarterbacks do, and continue to lead, continue to bring teammates along, and just rise our offense to a level that we know we can play at. So just continue to do that every single day. All right, thanks, Pete. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Pete.
Appreciate it.
And, of course, the man that is chasing him for that position at QB1 for Indiana is Michael Penix, the guy that I thought should have been starting last year from the first game. I think that if you put him in that first game, it's a game that was very easily winnable by Indiana. The first three games, actually. They were the non-conference games. You get him all that experience. Then he rolls into the Big Ten with 3 games of experience under his belt, but they did not go that route. And so now we're back here this season doing the same thing again, or are they going to have the same result? We've seen Peyton Ramsey football for the last 2 years. 5-7 was the result. Again, all that is not on his shoulders. There's a lot of there's some variables there. The biggest variable of all is the previous offensive coordinator, Mike DeBoer. He's gone. You've got a new one in, Kalen DeBoer. Mike DeBoer, I call him DeBoring, but Kalen DeBoer now, and who is nothing like Mike DeBoer was. He is imaginative, he's creative, he has offenses that just like to light it up. So that's got to be in Peyton Ramsey's favor, of course, but it's also in Michael Penix's favor. Let's see what Mr. Penix had to say.
Michael, today there seemed like your coach was putting in a lot of new stuff, and how did you feel like you guys all handled that in regards to being in the right places and getting the best looks and things like that?
I feel like we all came out there focused. We all came out prepared. We studied it in the film room this morning, so we come out and execute. Some things didn't go as planned because maybe the defense gave us a look that we weren't expecting. We got to work on it every single day because maybe we might get a different look with a team we play, and it could work successfully. So we just stayed focused and made sure that we just execute it to the best of our abilities.
Coach was talking about, Coach DeBoer, just sometimes checks, getting live reps and just seeing what you have to do at the line. I mean, how much of a progression has that been for you just during the fall?
Well, it's been a huge progression, because, especially with the O-line, you need them blocking. You got to make sure you're in the right protection all the time or you're going to get hit. So that's one thing he stressed on us a lot. We can't make a play happen if we're getting sacked. So that's one thing we always focus on in the meeting rooms. All three of us, we push each other to make sure that we're great at that spot.
How do you evaluate how you've performed the first 2 weeks of camp?
I feel like it's been going real good. I've been real consistent, just helping lead the team, make sure we're always in good situations, don't make a bad situation worse. Every single day I'm just working my tail off to make sure that everyone is on the same page and that we stay consistent.
Is there any residual with the knee for you? Do you feel it at all? Do you think about it at all? Can you kind of play without even worrying about it?
No, I play without even worrying about it. I'm 100%, ready to go full go.
What do you think versus a year ago you're doing a lot better?
A lot better leading vocally. I become a more vocal leader, pushing the team every single day to come out, compete, do their best, and, just give it all out for the team.
You seem real comfortable in knowing what's supposed to be done by everybody on every play, and from that leadership standpoint, I've seen a few times where you've been able to get on receivers a little bit for breaking the wrong way or running the wrong route. Is that You feel comfortable with that now to make sure you can stand up and say what you need to say to
Yes, sir.
get better?
Very comfortable. That comes with, some experience from last year. I got to play. That comes with just meeting every single day, working together. We have officer meetings, so we're all on each other, make sure we're pushing each other to be the best offense in the Big Ten and in the country.
Does the competition bring that out in you at all? Like knowing I have to be a vocal leader if I want to be able to lead this football team?
It's always, football is a competitive sport. It's always, everything is around competition. Just being a vocal leader, that's the thing that you need on your team. Every single team, you need a vocal leader. If you don't have that, then you can't just always depend on the coaches to step up. You need each other. You need to push each other to do better every single day.
Obviously, all three guys are fighting for their starting job. From this point forward, what do you think you have to do to get that number one spot?
No, just focus on my game. Just continue to work hard, do what's best for the team. That's all.
All right, thanks, Mike.
Yep.
There's Mr. Michael Penix fighting for the job at quarterback at Indiana in his redshirt freshman season. Obviously, last year he wasn't down with the injury as a true freshman, but a true quarterback battle. And the funny thing is, it's not that Jack Tuttle, the third quarterback, is bad. He's not. He's got great talents. He's got great skills. He's just a little further behind than these guys from a study standpoint. He got here late, and he's just behind in that regard. Then, if you want to make this thing even more interesting, and I know there's no point looking forward to the next year, but you got another good quarterback coming in, that kid from Georgia. It's going to be interesting once again. You got to do this all over. Next year, you're going to have 4 quarterbacks. Now, I'm pretty certain that he's going to get a red shirt next year, the kid coming in from Georgia. So they won't have to worry about that. But, man, this quarterback race is going to be heated next year, because then you've got a Jack Tuttle with a year under his belt of learning and knowing the offense, knowing Kalen DeBoer's offense. And then you've got Michael Penix with another year, and even Peyton Ramsey with another year. So it's going to be a shootout again next year. I don't know that it matters what happens this year unless whoever gets this job just goes hog wild and goes crazy and wins 9 games or something. I think we're going to have to do this all over again next year, which is the funny thing. But we've got a lot more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat. Of course, we're coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Coming up next on the next hour, Chronic Hoosier, we're going to hear from Nick Westbrook, Tom Allen, Grant Hurd, Donovan Hale, all of them. Stay tuned. We got plenty more coming up on Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
I like the way you work it, no diggity. I got to bag it up. I like the way you work it, no diggity.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or of course on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is former Indiana basketball player Greg Green. Keep up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
This hour is brought to you by Sweetland Waste and Removal Service, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Jim Coyle with you, as always. Jake's at the wheel, keeping things on the track. Thanks a lot for taking us along for the ride, wherever you're headed, wherever you're going today. We appreciate you taking Indiana Sports Beat Radio with you. On the program today, looking forward to it, one of our favorite days of the week. We get a visit from Chronic Hoosier. Cannot wait. Always a very exhilarating conversation. Looking forward to that as usual, as it always is. Also, we're going to hear a long bit with Coach Tom Allen, Indiana football coach, as we had the opportunity to meet with him yesterday. Talked about everything from the quarterback situation right down through everything. So plenty to get to there. Before we do that, a few things to talk about on the basketball side of things. You know, we've been talking about the fact that they're minus a coach for, it's been 6 weeks plus now. And, you know, you kept hearing people say, oh, they don't have to be in a hurry, blah, 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 BS. You hire the guy when you got the guy, so they obviously didn't have the guy yet or didn't have things worked out yet. But, you know, I've been saying all along that that's got to happen here soon. I saw that Jeff Rabjohn said that it should happen any day now as well. So it must be true. But, yeah, I've been saying it's got to happen here soon, because if it doesn't, that means there's an issue. But I think that that's going to be coming here any day now, really. Wouldn't be surprised if it's today or tomorrow. But also you've got the schedule that is yet to come out. Indiana usually does not release their non-conference schedule until the Big Ten releases their schedule. And last year that was on the 21st. So as you can see, we're getting into that time. So expect to have the basketball schedule out as well. Indiana also has a couple scholarships open yet to fill. So it's important things for Archie Miller. He's got to get this coaching spot filled and get that out of the way. He's got to, he doesn't have to, but he's got these 2 scholarships that he's either got to get somebody in, at least one of them, and bank the other, but figure out what they're going to do. But they've got to pick up the pace on the recruiting. I know everybody's all happy that they've got all these Indiana kids, but at the end of the day, you got to have as good a talent as you can have. And so they've got some open spots to fill, and we'll see what they can get done with that. But all that will keep coming at us, but also it's another football practice day. Looking forward to heading back out to the practice field. to see how this quarterback situation is going. Tom Allen talked yesterday, and we'll hear about that in a little bit, and I'll also talk to Cronic about it, in addition to an assortment of other things with Cronic. That's the great thing about having him on. It's just a great conversation. But on the football side of things, they need to get this quarterback named as soon as possible, because that's the guy that needs to be taking the first reps with the first team. It makes a huge difference, and if his team wants to be different, if his team wants to not just go 6-6, try to win 7 or maybe 8 games, they've got to do things different, and that means name your quarterback, get going, get with it. But they're trying to get to that. I know it's a tough decision, but I think it's tougher than maybe it should be. There's a lot of discussion that goes on about the quarterback, and of course, we're not in there every day. Even us, the media, we get to see about half the practices, but we don't see all of them. So we don't know everything. We don't know everything that's been tracked, and I have to give credence to that. But even with that, I know what I've seen over the last 2 years. I have my opinion. My opinion doesn't matter. But I know who I would like to see in there as quarterback, and that's Michael Penix. I'll be straight up with you about it. I think his ceiling is much higher. I've said it before. I'm not hid from that. He's got a higher ceiling. He has greater capabilities. You talk about Peyton Ramsey. He was very, very consistent last year. Well, yes, he was, but he was built to be consistent. He didn't throw the ball further than 15 yards down the field. So therefore, that gets you a very high throwing percentage. Truth be told, probably should have had a higher throw percentage with all those short passes. 13 touchdowns or 13 interceptions. That's a few too many for me, but it's a new season. You've got a new offensive coordinator, and that also plays into this. It's an important part, because you can't blame everything on Peyton Ramsey last year, and I don't. I put a lot of it at the feet of Mike DeBoer, but that's gone. It's a new day, a new era. Kalen DeBoer is now the offensive coordinator, and I think that the offense, no matter who the quarterback is going to be greatly upgraded. It's going to be a much more exciting offense. It's just how prolific can that offense be with who, depending upon who that quarterback is for the Hoosiers. Yesterday, we also had the opportunity to talk to fifth-year senior wide receiver Nick Westbrook. One of the things we asked of him, of course, I don't think I asked this question, but it was about the quarterback. Do they have a preference? You've got one guy that's left-handed. You've got this guy that throws that way. Do they notice a difference? Let's hear what Nick had to say.
Not really, and I've even said it myself. Like sometimes after the play's over, I'll catch the ball and be like, who threw that? Like I'm not even really paying attention to it, which is a good thing because I'm not noticing a difference with the ball coming out any different way. So everybody's making plays, and we're just chugging along and can't wait to get started, really.
That was Nick Westbrook, senior wide receiver, fifth-year senior. Man, and talk about having some experience at a position. These wide receivers, you've got Nick Westbrook, and he looks like a man. He's been through the 5 years of the strength and conditioning. These receivers on this team, they're built. Donovan Hale, another guy that's been around for 5 years. He's fought through injuries to come back, just like Nick Westbrook did. He was also, we talked to him yesterday as well. They had some very, very productive summer workouts, and he talks about the chemistry that the quarterbacks have, that the receivers have with their quarterbacks.
Since I've been here, this is probably the most work we put in the offseason with the quarterbacks and the receivers. So, our chemistry is pretty much up there. We've been doing good.
Having 3 solid quarterbacks like you guys do, how does that help your all's room to improve each and every day instead of just having the one guy to depend on?
If you look at all the great teams, they have depth 1s, 2s, 3s, sometimes even 4s. So, for us to be great and take that next step to the next level, we're going to need all 3 guys.
You saw that he mentioned all 3 guys, which that's not possible. Obviously, you can't have 3 quarterbacks going, but and you can't blame those guys. They gave PC answers. They always do. It's not up to them to make this decision. It's not fair for them to be put in that position, to be honest with you. So I don't expect nonetheless, but they've got to make a decision, and that's going to be happening soon. The way it came out yesterday, and I don't want to read into it incorrectly, but It kind of read in that they weren't excited to make this announcement. They were not going to be making it for several days. I mean, they're not going to hide from it, but if that's the case, because I think that if you took a poll, I'm pretty positive what the fan poll would read on who they would like to see at quarterback, or more importantly, who they don't really want to see because of what they've seen for the last 2 years. Is that fair? Maybe, maybe not. Like I said, you've got to consider the fact that you've got a new offensive coordinator who's going to be a lot different. That's going to make this offense better, period. I don't care who the quarterback is. The offense is going to be better than it was last year. So, but that's that, and that's just going to have to work itself out, and we'll find out in, by the end of the week, I'd say no doubt, because they're going to have to. It's just something that they can't run from. It's got to happen. It's just one of those things, and we'll see how that goes. But there is so much more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Coming up next, one of our favorite weekly guests, Chronic Hoosier, is on, bringing his weekly wit and insight, and he's always just a pleasant conversation. Look forward to it. Got a lot more coming up in addition to Chronic Hoosier. We're going to hear from Tom Allen. Stay tuned. We've got plenty more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right here from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
And having fun, aren't they happy? Now don't that remind you of us? We were young, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, and it's Tuesday, and you know what that means. It's one of our favorites. Good friend of the show, Chronic Hoosiers, with us. Chronic, how are you, my friend?
Man, I'm just happy to be back. We're officially entering that full-time school groove right now. It's moving week on campus. Doing our best to survive, but I'll tell you what, there's for all the grumbling, and locals it's your right as a local, as a cutter, to complain about the parents and the congestion and the traffic at the lines. I tell you what, I was driving home, and thanks to some of the road projects that had just popped up, I had a little extra time to kind of take my time and just enjoy the sight of people back on porches. The life is being breathed back into Bloomington again with the students, so I'm excited for it. Excited to get the school year underway. Excited to get athletics back, man. It's a fun time to be in town.
Dude, I was just talking to another friend earlier today, and I'm like, you know what? I love what I do, but it's about to become a 7-day-a-week job because all the sports are kicking right now. It won't be long before basketball kicks in on top of that, so it's going to get crazy. But first things first, we've got football. There was some football on last night. Of course, it was preseason, but we got football on TV, so that makes it great. We're only less than 2 weeks away from Indiana kicking off against Ball State up in Lucas Oil, which would be a fun thing. It'd be a cool environment. I've never watched Indiana play in any kind of a game up there, so that's something new.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you see a lot of it with, baseball does it now. They'll go up and play a little series at Victory Field, usually against an in-state opponent. Soccer does it all the time. Actually, last night they were up there playing Bowling Green in their first preseason game of the year. They do quite a bit of time up at Grand Park in Westfield. It's a great opportunity to bring IU athletics to the school's largest alumni base, Indianapolis, home to the most Hoosier alums of any place in the country. It allows us to avoid them having to grumble about the traffic on 37 South for games. I definitely love to see as many home games played at home as possible, but particularly when you look at an in-state matchup, such as the season opener this year against the Cardinals. I think it's a great opportunity for Indiana fans to see the Hoosiers in what's still a gorgeous stadium. I'd be real curious to see if the roof is open or not. Maybe IU fans are a little more hardy about whether they're willing to endure to watch a football game live than the Colts fans are. But more than anything, just to see them, in the gym of the state's football stadiums to kick off the season. Hopefully, get a really full house up there. Ticket prices scale. I think they start at like $40, so it should be pretty accessible compared to what the standard ticket rate is going for. And more than anything, man, just get the season started off with a bang, and let's get that first W under the belt and gain some momentum going forward.
Yeah, it's going to be a cool environment for sure, but it's also going to be a very interesting look for Hoosier fans, as we're still waiting to see who's going to be the quarterback, because as of yesterday, meeting we met with Coach Allen after practice, and they're not there yet, but I think that they know who it's going to be, and that person is going to start getting more reps. He said it's probably going to be several days before they make the quote-unquote official announcement, but there's no doubt, I think that they know who that guy is going to be. I don't know if they're talking Penix or Ramsey, but I know what the fans are wanting. But we'll certainly have to find out here soon.
If nothing else, if we can just put this question to bed once and for all, at least until we get through the first week and see, if the starter ends up being the guy that finishes that game. And by all indications, that seems to be what the staff's plan is. Barring something, unforeseen happening in game where the wheels just fall off for an injury. More than anything, I'm just ready to. I'm ready to stop talking about it. I'm ready to start seeing it. By all accounts, it was a pretty illuminating scrimmage this weekend. This was the second full team scrimmage The only one, if I understand correctly, where they went full contact. Third scrimmage isn't going to be full go like it was this one. From by all accounts, Michael Penix really did a great job. Ramsey continues to show consistency. And then, there's the Tuttle factor all along that I don't think a lot of fans are as familiar with, obviously not having had that exposure to him. But by all accounts, it seems that the top two is kind of separated from that third quarterback in the room a little bit, and that seems to maybe be growing a little bit more each week. Perhaps the Tuttle being the outside guy or the guy on the outside looking in. At the end of the day, though, too, probably not unexpected, with a new system, just everything he's got to do to get up to speed. If nothing else, though, what seems to be the consensus, no matter who I talk to, because I've certainly heard a difference of opinion as far as who looks to be the starter at this point. The level of competition from 1 through 3 is like Indiana hasn't had in a long, long time at that spot. So no matter who it ends up being, I think it's certainly a testament to what Coach Allen and the staff is trying to build here, that you've got 3 guys who legitimately have some stake in being in that conversation as far as who deserves to get the call on opening day.
Yeah, I think you'd have to go back to like 2013, maybe. Was that Nate Sudfeld's freshman year or something like that? But they had those 3 quarterbacks that were all going. But those were all 3 different kind of quarterbacks. These guys have a lot of similarities between the 3. I think it's making it even tougher for these coaches to do. And I agree with you on Jack Tuttle. Man, he's a super talented kid. It's just he is the last guy in. He's just further behind from a learning standpoint, the learning curve. And that's it. Other than that, these guys are 1, 2, 3 for sure. But I agree with you. It's definitely a 2-horse race now between Michael Penix and Peyton Ramsey. And you've got the quote-unquote experience of Peyton Ramsey, but the unrelenting talent of Michael Penix. And it's going to be very exciting to find out who that guy finally is and then look forward to see what he can do.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that's kind of got lost in all of this is just how remarkably fast Michael Penix has returned from his ACL injury. I know we kind of take it for granted. It's become such a common injury in so many different sports nowadays. But we are not even 10 full months removed from his ACL injury, or somewhere right about that mark. And he's right back in the thick of things, fighting for the starting QB position. So it's certainly a testament to how hard the kid worked in the off season to go through his rehab and just to really stay on program and on track in his recovery to get to the point that he's even in this conversation at this point. Because honestly, I'm old enough to remember when ACLs, there was that stigma that you're just never going to be the same guy. You'll never get that step back. And it wasn't just a step. We were usually talking a couple of steps back then. So, and I guess, we would be remiss if we didn't mention the entire staff that these guys have supporting them in their surgery and the recovery and the rehabilitation and the strength and conditioning that gets it back on the field and in contention to take that starting job, not 10 months after the injury.
Absolutely. I mean, you mentioned a great point there. I mean, back in the day, an ACL was almost like an Achilles injury. It was like a year-long recovery, and now it's they can get back so much quicker. But the fact that he was able to cover so much ground and catch back up to make this a dead heat, a testament to the strength and conditioning guys, Dr. Ray and Dave Ballou and the athletic training staff and the doctors. It's amazing what they can do. But you got to give a lot of credit to Michael Penix. That's shown a lot of heart to get there. And I'm not sure if he's going to be the guy that ends up with the job or not, but he's certainly given the effort to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's hopefully a sign of promise to come for the program that level continues to elevate from season to season, particularly at such an important position.
There's so much going on in Indiana athletics right now, too, Chronic. Sports that a lot of people don't think of a lot. Volleyball, for example, brand new building to play in that's also going to house the wrestling team, but Wilkinson Hall. Man, that place is going to be jumping this winter. Steve Aird is a great coach that they brought in, and he is hell-bent and determined to turn Indiana into a national power and do it as quickly as possible. And I'm just looking forward to watching that program grow.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, that's a man that I owe a rain check to in the worst way here. He reached out to me early on, just kind of wanting to, not just establish some roots around town, but more than anything, you can just tell. I mean, even in just text conversations, you can tell his passion, his enthusiasm for what he's trying to build here is really something to see. I mean, quite honestly, and I think that's going to be one of those programs, and I think it kind of goes under the radar a lot. We get so fixated on, you know, the football and the basketball program here at Indiana, and I certainly do my best to keep soccer in that conversation, that a lot of the other Olympic sports tend to kind of go under the radar and go unnoticed. And I think one thing that everybody in the athletic department probably doesn't get enough credit for is the degree to which they've really elevated the totality of the program. You know, Fred Glass talks about 24 sports, one team, and I know it's so many years down the road now, it can sound a little bit cliche, but the way in which they've continued to invest in all of the programs, and it's not just facilities, and it's not just coaching salaries for that matter. I do think they've made some pretty strong hires across the board. You see it with Coach Stanton at the softball team. Coach Aird is just another one along those lines where he's, you know, they stole him from Maryland, and you know, from a resource standpoint, Maryland's athletic department isn't on the strongest footing. But he had something going on over there, and for them to swoop in and to steal a coach from in-conference, a young coach who had immediate impact on the team he took over there, got them in the national conversation in really short order. I think it's awesome to see Indiana going out and selecting that type of a guy to bring here for a school that, or for a program rather, that, you know, you can make the same case for volleyball as you can for Indiana women's basketball. The state produces a ton of talent. There's a lot of great coaching. There's a lot of great development and infrastructure for youth volleyball. But historically, Indiana universities kind of struggled to compete at that level, commensurate with the amount of talent the state's putting out. And I think Coach Aird he's going to be one of those guys that you're going to look back and when you wonder, where did that program really kind of turn that corner? Wilkinson Hall certainly is going to be, just a tremendous asset for anybody that's in that position. But I think the pairing of that facility with that type of personality, I think it's going to be just a sight to behold. I love the fact that they're going to be right across the street from the dorms and get that engagement with the student community that they were really, they struggled for years to attain over at University Gym on the other side of the bypass. You know, it was kind of out of the way. It was hot. It wasn't easily accessed. You really couldn't see it so well. So to have the new facility, to have the new coaching staff in place, I just think it's a perfect recipe for not just success, but a lot of excitement. I think I'm looking forward to getting my kids over there to know the environment that's going to create when you pair those two things together, the person and the facility. I think it's going to be electric, and I can't wait to get it started and really see what a full season looks like in there for them.
I agree with you 1,000%. Ironically, out at football practice yesterday, I ran into Angel Escobedo, the IU's new wrestling coach as well, who will be in that building as well, which he's another guy who's looking to build a program that has not exactly been killing it here of late, but it's another opportunity to turn a program around, and, man, he's probably the guy to do it.
You talk about passion. I mean, this kid, I will go to my grave until somebody can prove otherwise. Pound for pound, the baddest Hoosier I've ever seen around. Angel is he was a freak on the mat as an athlete at Indiana. If I'm not mistaken, a 4-time All-American national champion. But Angel's one of those guys who absolutely understands what it means to be a Hoosier, who absolutely understands the commitment and the sacrifice required to be a Division I athlete, but especially a wrestler. The training those guys go through is just insane, and the way in which the level they have to compete on, it's just it's unbelievable. And when you see somebody that's able to translate his personal, his development, his growth, his passion as an athlete, and translate that from a coach's perspective, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of great coaches at Indiana that have a lot of deep ties to this state. But you're going to be hard-pressed to find anybody who's more passionate about the University of Indiana, who's more passionate about really growing and developing his program, really as a caretaker, not just as a coach, than what you're going to see in Angel. Absolutely looking forward to seeing what he can do, what he can build. And I think, with that gym, you saw it in baseball when they built Kauffman. You had the pieces in place from a coaching standpoint, from a personnel standpoint, but the synergy that program was able to achieve when you pair it with the new facility and the excitement and the influx of fans that it's going to bring and just the overall escalation of the experience, I think both wrestling and volleyball are poised to have some really, really big seasons. as well as really launch themselves in entirely new trajectories with those two things, and with the right people and the right facilities in place. I think it's going to be electric. I think it'd be, and again, I said this for years. There's a lot of Olympic sports that are awesome places, not just from an economy standpoint, but you get to move around. There's a lot more interaction, as opposed to being in a packed assembly hall. Enjoy those days while you got them, if they're still even existing, because I don't think it's going to be very long where it's going to be standing room only in Wilkinson, no matter who's playing them in.
Again, I can't disagree with you about anything you've said. And also, if you get to hook up with Coach Aird, make sure that you get Coach Aird's wife to make you dinner, because she's like a 18-star chef, really a 5-star chef, but she is like incredible. I have not had that experience, but we can only hope one day, right?
Absolutely. I owe the man a couple of pints. I promised him early on, and it's just been a hectic summer. And every time I've got free, he's been overseas recruiting, on the road doing camps and seminars, and just really, really pounding the pavement, doing everything he can to promote the university and grow the program he's been entrusted with. So,
when you do that, let me know. I'd love to jump in there, man. He's a great guy to hang out with, or just to talk to. His spirit, his energy, and that's when I was talking to. We had a media day for the volleyball team not too long ago, and that was like a common recurring theme between talking to the players is his energy. Coach Aird's energy was one of the things that really drives them and brought them to Indiana. For a lot of the freshmen, they talked about that extensively, how his vision and his passion is something that drew them into IU.
I'll tell you what, too, if there's ever a coach's dance-off at the Spirit of Indiana showcase at the end of the season, at the end of the athletic year, my money's absolutely on Steve to take that thing home in spades. I've seen some of the clips. Guy's got moves.
I'll take your word for that, and I don't doubt it, man. The dude he's a national champion volleyball player as well as a coach, so I'm sure he's got moves like Jagger.
Absolutely, man.
But also, not a lot of news, and actually no news on the basketball front, but still waiting to see who that next assistant is going to be. We're bumping up. I don't know if it's been quite 2 months yet, but it's getting there. So that's something that I'm assuming will happen anytime now. Of course, I said that a month ago, but we'll see what turns out with that. Then there's also still 2 scholarships available, a couple of visits. Caleb Love is going to be coming to visit during the Ohio State football weekend, and then before that you've got I'm drawing a blank. I had it today. The kid's coming on August 30th to visit IU as well, and man, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on that, but all I have to do is look to my notes from yesterday and I can find it.
Geronimo,
you got it. Coming in on the 30th. So a couple of guys coming in to look at Indiana, which they've got a couple open scholarships, and I'm sure they'd like to get that taken care of sooner rather than later. But that's part of the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And I say this all the time. Honestly, there comes a point where, with the exception of a couple of recruiting targets that he's locked up in this instance, and Anthony Leal and Trey Galloway, unless you've got those guys that have been marked for a long time that pop occasionally, you're going to hear, the surprise commitment out of nowhere. But honestly, it's always been my mantra in the off season, no news is usually going to be good news. Because usually news this time of year is going to be something exceptional, something outside the norm. And far too often we've seen what happens when it's, something negative that's happened around the program, whether it be a defection or an injury or suspension or, some kids get in trouble, whatever it may be. Usually there's not a whole lot of great news that comes out of this time of the basketball cycle. Obviously the coaching vacancy remains an issue of intrigue. And then exactly how they're going to round out the roster at this point as well. And, there's certainly some holes that he's going to have to address on the recruiting front. So much of that, not to be a broken record, we still have to figure out what's going on with Jerome Hunter's status. We still kind of have to see what the new look team's going to look like from a chemistry standpoint, how well they're going to gel, how well, they're going to be able to find scoring, and they're losing so incredibly much scoring between Romeo and Juwan. But really just how they figure that out on their own, I think, is going to go so much further than what any particular freshman at this point in the recruiting game is going to bring in, at least in the near term, that I'm not too terribly broke up about that. Knowing probably what type of rotation Archie's going to be running next year, maybe 8-9 guys best. I'm going to sit back and until proven otherwise, probably just be pretty content with where they are, having locked up Leal and Galloway, and kind of keeping one eye on the horizon. But more than anything, right now, trying to figure out where that coaching situation is going to be, and also trying to figure out, at this point, nothing is certainly organized as far as practices. School hasn't even started yet this week. They'll get back into individual workouts. They'll be able to do some team stuff together. But really trying to figure out who the starters are going to be, what the rotation is going to shake out to be, and more than anything, where they look to for buckets when they're absolutely in a pinch, because I think that's going to be one of the biggest challenges going forward. It's figuring out who that number one and number two scorers are on the offense and figuring out ways that you can best maximize them throughout the scheme.
Absolutely, and the only thing that I would, it's not bad news, but it's still a point of, I guess you'd call it concern, is the status of Jerome Hunter. I mean, only because you hate to see this for a kid, like any kid, especially one on Indiana's team. But, man, the kid is a super athlete, and I hate to see him going through this, but I'd sure like to see him get to play, whether it's at Indiana or anywhere. You want to see the kid play. I saw him play in high school, great athlete. I haven't heard any more, so it's not like there's bad news here. There's not. There's just no news, and so still waiting to see how that is going to resolve itself.
No, and this isn't, I think it's important to make the distinction too here. By all accounts, this appears not to be necessarily an injury, something that, it's not like it's a tendon or a ligament or a bone or something that just heals. This is more of a condition, and that's the challenge about conditions, is you can do the best to manage them. If there's treatments available, you certainly want to pursue those, but there also comes a point where if a condition continues to persist and the medical indications are that condition poses risks, ultimately this is what it all comes down to is risk assessment and how you can mitigate it. And eventually you would assume there's going to be a point where determination has to be made that this is a risk that can't be mitigated enough that it's safe for him to play, at least under the auspices of Indiana University's care and entrustment, because ultimately that's what these guys, whenever these guys sign up, it's not just a quid pro quo. You come put on the jersey and play ball and we give you free, school and housing. The university is entrusted with their overall care and well-being when they're under their watch. And if the medical team doesn't feel comfortable that he can compete at this level without putting himself at undue risk, there comes a point where they have to make the determination they can't clear him. And I guess that's the one thing that continues to be of concern, that with this much time having now passed since the condition was identified, since it was assumed the surgery he underwent last winter was specifically to treat it or to address it in whatever fashion, if we're still this far down the road now and he hasn't had clearance, there are those lingering questions whether he'll ever get it. Because I don't know how much more time or, how many other options they haven't considered at this point to address it. But the fact remains he hasn't been cleared. So without speculating too wildly on what's going on, what's been done, what the prognosis is, I think you can objectively look back and just at what the established timeline here and say there is certainly a concern that there is some continuing condition that continues to cause the staff hesitation in giving him full clearance. So we'll see. I guess we've probably got about another 2 months, a little less than 2 months now. You'd imagine they'd probably have some determination before practice officially starts, before hysteria kicks in. But like the coaching vacancy, I imagine that it's probably not going to be too much longer before we have some clarity on the issue.
Absolutely. I haven't seen anything posted, so I'm assuming no new banners so far?
No, I haven't done squat yet, honestly. We've been waiting on Dr. Clavio to get back. He's been tramping around Italy, being the good Italian that he is, with his entire family, posting some of the most adorable videos of his kid eating in the plaza at 9 p.m. while he and his wife drink wine and just have the most amazing looking time possible. So we're going to let him get over his jet lag here and bring him back to our humid, sticky reality that is August in Indiana. I'd imagine we're probably going to get something on the books here this week and have it hopefully drop next week, just in time for the season kickoff on the 31st.
Can't wait, man. Look forward to it. Just like look forward to the weekly visit of Cronny Kuzer, brother. Appreciate you always.
Glad to be back, man. Looking forward to it next week.
Thank you very much. Cronny Kuzer with us here from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, Indiana Sports Beat. We're back with more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is former Indiana basketball player Greg Green. Keep up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. And welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here in Bloomington. Hope your day is going well here on this Tuesday, August 20th. Just wrapped up with Chronic Hoosier, one of my favorites. He's just, man, the dude is in touch. That's all I can tell you. Love talking to him. Great conversation, as always. Speaking of conversations, got to have one yesterday with Coach Tom Allen. Not just me, but we all talked to him. Before practice yesterday, of course, we talked about the quarterback issues and all that, and they're just not ready to name the guy, man. They're I don't want to say they're hesitant, but they're not ready to put it out there. But we had the opportunity to talk to him yesterday. Talked about a lot of things. It was a great conversation. Let's get to that right now. Here's Coach Tom Allen.
I want to comment a little bit about our scrimmage on Saturday. Had really, really good scrimmage. Really our last, we call it preseason game number 2. Preseason game number 3 for us is going to be our mock game, which will come up here this coming Saturday, but that will be in Spiders, which means it's helmets only and no shoulder pads. But so we won't have any hitting at that, but a lot of game. It's a whole game-like situation. We put our whole team on one sideline, put all the look team guys on the other sideline, and it's all against scouts. And so it's kind of functioned from quarter to quarter, all 4 quarters, halftime, pregame, all that stuff. So that's the next step for us. But preseason game number 2 this past weekend got a little short because of the lightning. but we got it all in terms of time. We didn't go and split it up and go to the indoor, but got all the offense and defensive work that we wanted. Had to cut a couple special teams out when they got the Lightning coming. So, but it was good, very physical. All of the goes were live except for we worked on 2 minute at the end, and that was just a thud tempo. But really thought that I liked how our running backs performed. I thought Cole Guest was really did some good things in both throw game and running the football, getting him sharpened up. And Ronnie Walker was another one that really. Matter of fact, there was a couple runs where we wound it back. I thought it was one of the other guys, and so just really encouraged by his continued progress. I think he's just such he does so many great things off the field and in the weight room, and the way he handles himself and the way he works. Just really a guy that I think a lot of, and I just think he's running with a lot of confidence. And Samson continues to do some good things. We kind of rested. We got Stevie some reps, but I know what he can do, so we backed off of him. On the running reps, he just did some protections and things like that. So rested a lot of our receivers in the first group, but thought that really thought Matt Bjornson at tight end made a lot of good plays. Just did some good things for us, and is really playing hard and playing well. Thought that was real positive, and I think that Cam Wilson keeps doing some good things, and Jordan Jakes made some good plays. It was good to see him get some confidence, and so I was encouraged by that. Thought all three quarterbacks did some good stuff, and that's what makes it continue to be a challenge. But we'll get closer to making that final decision. I'm not there yet, but at the same time, thought that it was a positive step in the right direction for all three of those guys as they keep working and continue to develop and compete, to run the offense. So defensively, thought had a really good finish in the situations that we did. I think our run fits are getting better and better, and that's a big deal for me and how we study those, and really encouraged by Lance Bryant. I tell you what, he's really had a good camp all the way through, but I thought he really shined at some times in both the run game and in pass pressure. He was really he's blossoming into the guy that I thought he could be since he's been here. Redshirted him, out of Texas, and this is his redshirt sophomore year, so that's big for us. And James Head continues to be consistent. We want him to continue to elevate his game. I thought Jerome Johnson was, sometimes you get an older guy like that in one of those a second scrimmage, and that he did some good stuff and won. He had continued to have a very good camp, and so you need those guys to continue to keep coming along, and I like that work. And I thought, as well as the linebackers, James Head and Thomas Allen, I thought were really solid. And I thought that Raekwon is just, man, he's really loved where he's at, leading the defense, playing with confidence, and just doing some good things. Noah Pierre's a young guy that don't talk about a lot, but he really flashed to me as well. So just, the other guys that you expect to be consistent. But it was just a really good, it was one of those, sometimes you go through it and you have a scrimmage and you see things and still too many penalties. We had the officials here, so, they were calling, had some holding calls, and we had a couple procedures, and then there was a defense jumped offside once that at a critical time. We can't do that. We got to get that fixed. But the holding was probably just continuing to, we want them to call it so we get a realistic view of where we're at, moving our feet, keeping our hands inside. And so I didn't like that. That wasn't good enough for me. But I just thought when I went back and watched it, I just thought there was a lot of positives, and really like what we're doing on red zone offense-wise, and creates a lot of challenges for the defense, and so that was encouraging. And so I just thought it was, I just, like I said, went back and rewatched the film, watched special teams, watched everything that we did, and came away from there feeling like, okay, we're making progress. We got 2 more weeks now after that scrimmage to get ready to play, and I feel like that the team is, starting to figure some things out. So obviously now we got to keep, this next week here, we're going to keep working fundamentally for 3 more practices, and then start Ball State prep.
Coach Stevie Scott aside, you had a ton of talent in that running backs room, but with the performance of Cole Guest, especially coming off an injury, has that room even surprised you more than you thought it would?
It did, from the perspective of the number of guys that have elevated their game, and I just think that, like you said, you knew what Stevie could do. Keeping him sharp was the challenge, and helping him grow and just not be content with having a great season and just elevating his preparation, which I think he's done. But the guys around him, and I think you get what you wanted, and when that is that his performance elevated the room, and then the competition elevated the individuals within the room, and I think that's what's happened. And so I think we've seen the same thing. I felt like at receiver, I thought that the way Nick Westbrook has elevated his preparation, that pulled Miles Marshall with him. And I think Andre Brown at corner, I mean, he's been phenomenal this whole offseason, and in terms of how he has prepared, and he's elevated his play, and he really brought Raheem Lane with him, even though Raheem Lane's a good player. I think he's elevated his play because Andre set the tone for that room, and he followed suit. And then I would say the same thing in specialties. When you look at your specialists, and you don't always think of it like this, but a guy like Hayden Whitehead, who I think he's elevated his game. I love the way he's kicking the football right now, and it stems from his preparation in the offseason. Well, there's another specialist, Nate Snyder, that's elevated his offseason, where we just talked about this as a staff yesterday, and he was pulled up by Hayden's leadership. And so I just think you see those different situations where we've had guys, seniors, upperclassmen in those rooms, or even experienced guys, that by their work ethic, by their high level of expectation, guys in that room have elevated with them. And I would say the same thing with Caleb from Coy. Coy was the one that kind of took him under his wing and pushed him and drove him, and Caleb responded. So those are the kind of things we're seeing. And I've just listed several different guys in several different rooms that encourages me, because that's what you want. That's the leadership you want. That's the effect that you want. And I think we're seeing that in a lot of different spots, and that's encouraging.
With the quarterbacks, obviously you don't have to name a starter, but as you go into this week, is there one guy who you want to get more time with the ones to really just to really get a strong look at?
Well, here's the reality. So bottom line is that we as a staff, and what we're doing is we will not make an announcement probably for several more days, but we will start moving that direction. Does that make sense? And so
right.
From a rep-based perspective, and so that's just reality. And so and you sit guys down and you have those conversations. And so but yeah, there's no question. I mean, to me, the bottom line is that we know how many days we have till kickoff. We know what it takes to get our guys ready. And so formal announcement aside, however that all plays itself out, we're going to get the guys ready that need to be ready to play.
So you said last time that the scrimmage kind of didn't clarify things at all. I mean, in terms of reps and how you're going to distribute those, did it give you any more clarity this past Saturday?
I think it did some. Yeah, there's no question. I mean, I always try to answer your questions as honest as I feel is appropriate, without saying things that I don't want to say, and I feel like that, that's being honest, and I feel like that, yeah, it did help, and so we've had some good discussion since, and that's what you do. My number one responsibility is have this team ready to play our best football, August 31st.
So it probably wouldn't do me any good to ask you a hypothetical. If you played this Saturday, who would you want to go with? That probably doesn't do us any good, does it?
Wasting your breath.
Coach, are you starting to get to the point with your freshman class, guys that will redshirt, the 4-game redshirts, and the guys that will play every game, or are you still in the process of?
We're still, but we had a conversation. I think I told somebody this, I said it one time. After the second scrimmage, I said I would probably have a pretty good feel for guys and where that looks. So we, in yesterday's staff meeting, that was one of our agenda items, was to go through every freshman and talk about that exact topic. Say, okay, is he a 4-game guy? Is he do we think he's a whole year guy? Or is he and there's, I would say in this group, the majority of them were, hey, we would like to play them for the 4 games, and then you see where they go from there, and so, because, they're a talented group, but they do have some good players in front of them. And so the balance is okay. We got these guys that we really think are going to be really good players for us, and they are. Let's make sure we're wise in how we use them, and don't just burn it. That's why I love the new rule. And the rule is for this group especially, because you got guys that you can get involved in special teams and have the talent to play earlier. But some of them, you're like, hey, if I can keep that extra year, because you go back and, hey, let's think about this guy. If we could have kept him, and I can name several guys on our roster right now that were here before the 4-game rule that they kind of had become a victim of. They really didn't even play 4 games. And if you had that rule, you would have played them more. You wish you wouldn't play them at all because you have another year. That kind of discussion. That's the things that we bring up and talk about. So I will say that bottom line is that it's a group of guys that we'd like to get as many as possible into the 4-game window and then see how they perform. And if they're performing at a high level, then we feel like they have to play. And sometimes, things happen and it forces you to. that you may play a guy, that you didn't expect to have to play. Like I said, after probably the second scrimmage, we weren't thinking Stevie Scott was going to be what he was. There's no question that all changed, in a couple weeks. So bottom line is that those things can happen. But I do think it's a group that we continue to be extremely impressed with, and we just want to make sure we do a great job managing those 4 games.
Is it a testament to improved depth that your freshman class won't be needed as much past 4 games? I mean, is that what you guys are seeing?
I absolutely agree, and that's the way it should be. I mean, we should have when our program is the way it needs to be, and we have the right amount of upperclassmen. I mean, it should be very difficult to come in here as a freshman out of high school and beat out a guy that's been here for 3 or 4 years, if we've recruited to that level. So I do think that it's a testament to that, because we played a lot more last year probably than we're going to play this year, but because we had to. And so, but that young depth we had a year ago, at times was tough to be competing this conference against, guys that have been, playing for several years.
How is Reese progressing with the hand injury?
He's coming, and did more the last couple of days than he's done before. So just trying to, it won't be a long-term thing, but he's progressing for sure.
Do you look at some of these 4-game situations as more of like a 2-game or 3-game for now, in case you might need somebody later?
Yeah, you don't want to burn the first 4 right out of the gate. You really don't, unless we say, hey, and there's a few guys who said, hey, this guy's gonna play. So it really doesn't matter. But you would say, okay, right now it's like because this was a discussion. Okay, who do you put in in a PAT field goal situation, or a certain special team, in game 1. And to say, how does that play out versus, you're going to do it the first 4 games? Well, if you're going to do that the first 4 games, you're probably pretty much going to say he's going to play, And so you don't want to get it to where now you've handcuffed yourself and you can't play him the rest of the time if you may need him for sure, just for a situation. So you'd like to get get their feet wet with a couple games, and then have a couple in your back pocket to be able to utilize late in the season. And there's some guys that we say, hey, they're not ready yet, but he's going to be a last 4-game mindset guy. And so we got a few guys in that category as well.
And that was Coach Tom Allen, Indiana's head football coach. We had a great conversation with him yesterday before practice. As soon as we get off here now, heading back out there again to see what's going on as we're getting closer and closer to kickoff August 31st up at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Indiana taking on the Ball State Cardinals. But that's going to wrap it up for us here today. Great show as always. Love talking to Chronic Hoosier. Appreciate him as always. Got to hear from a lot of guys. Coach Tom Allen, Grant Hurd, and Nick Westbrook, and Donovan Hale. We had a whole bunch on today, but look forward to continue to bring complete Hoosier coverage to you as we do each and every day. We'll do it again tomorrow. Until then, for Jake, I'm Jim Coyle, and I will see you on the radio.